Liz, you know I'm a sucker for a good prompt.
You love a good prompt.
I do. And I found what I think is a doozy. I just texted it over to you. I was hoping you could drop it into the ChatGPT. It reads, everyone is best in the world at something, using everything you know about me. So it's pulling memory here. Something we talked about last week was switching costs. Tell me what I am the best in the world at. Explain it in one short and hard-hitting sentence, presented as if I'm proudly announcing the news to the world.
All right.
Got it?
I just did it. I'm kind of excited. I like it.
What does it say?
All right, ready?
Yep.
I did do it in my best, newscaster voice.
Okay.
Maybe Andre can put the little news thing in.
Right.
Breaking news. Liz Rade is officially the world's best at designing groundbreaking, future-ready education programs that empower teachers, ignite student curiosity, and seamlessly integrate AI into learning, while somehow juggling a million projects with unmatched passion and precision.
Nice. I love it. I was like, wait, are you going to not say anything about all her fiber arts?
I know, but it snuck it in there.
Fantastic. I love it.
Did you do it for you?
I did. Yeah, it said I'm a good guy.
Okay.
Let's see. I have something else for you.
Oh, geez.
It's always I love it's the surprises that make life rich.
Okay.
I'm going to play a little something for you. I was wondering if you could tell me what you think it sounds like, or can you figure out what it is? Hang on one second. Here we go.
It sounds like the internet dial-up from I feel like I'm being thrown back into 1996 in the living room. My brother's probably yelling at me to get off the computer because he wants to use it, but I want to go and do something stupid in a chat room with my friends. But it doesn't get to the it's sounds like it's just dialing up.
Yeah, exactly. I think it does sound reminiscent of dial-up. So hang on a second. Let me play what it is here.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
So is that them communicating with each other?
It is, and you would have heard the agent say for more efficient communication, because actually translating tokens into spoken word and voice takes more energy and resources when they can speak in gibberlink. So this is something that 11 Labs is basically, just to make you feel a little more relaxed, 11 Labs has designed this kind of as a thought experiment or a test case. But it's funny because it's sort of like, Matthew McConaughey now with Woody Harrelson, by the way. I noticed they're both in that.
Yep.
Kind of introduced the idea of an individual calling on an AI agent, or in his case, not calling on an AI agent because it did not schedule his dinner at the correct time or in the correct, it should have been inside. It's pouring rain, right? But in this case, one AI agent is actually calling and another AI agent is answering. And so that's how they communicate. So this comes from a story from Tech Radar. It's called Two AI Chatbots Speaking in Each Other's Own Special Language is the Last Thing We Need, right? So at the 11 Labs Hackathon, and 11 Labs is a really interesting startup. We've covered them a bunch. We do interesting work with them in the micro-credential where foreign language teachers or other folks can put text into 11 Labs and have it read in different languages and accents. So at the 2025 hackathon that 11 Labs hosted, developers introduced Gibberlink, allowing AI chatbots to communicate using high-speed audio protocol called GGWave. Whew.
All right.
The system bypasses traditional speech synthesis, reducing the GPU reliance and potentially cutting costs.
I mean, yay efficiency, boo to scariness. I mean, I guess this also goes along the lines of people have talked about just sending their AI agents to meetings and all the AI agents will meet together and they could do it even faster just through speaking in gibberlink.
GGWave.
We can't even understand what they're doing at the meetings that we send them to.
I love it.
Great.
At the next meeting we have, I hope to have my AI agent GGWave with your AI agent.
I don't. I want you there. And I want to be there too.
Let's both be there.
Okay.
I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, a podcast about AI in K-12 education. In today's episode, Turnitin's big 180 from AI Detector to AI Platform. We'll take a sneak peek into the company's proposed new features.
But first, in the news, we'll hear from Notebook LM's editorial director about the value of a humanities degree in an AI world. Next, we'll explore a new study that shows just how much AI writing is permeating the written word. Then we'll check out a new feature called AI in the Wild, where we shine a bright light on creative uses of AI in education. And following that, we'll go beneath the surface as we check out Canvas from Turnitin. And we'll wrap up with another Bright Bite.
Oh my God, we have Bright Bites and AI in the wild?
It's awesome.
I love it. All right, Liz, I have a humanities degree. Do you?
I do. I have 2 bachelor's degrees.
Of course you do.
In Spanish and French.
Why did I even ask the question? Yeah, so this is really interesting. This is a piece from Business Insider. This story is titled, "The Humanities Degree Might Come in Handy If You Want a Job in AI." And it kind of highlights the claim that humanities degrees were once overlooked and now are highly valued. And I love this story because it really profiles this guy, Stephen Johnson. I've heard a few really neat interviews with him. So Stephen Johnson is a really prolific author, and Google brought him in to be part of the Google Labs team. And he was one of the folks that was really behind making Notebook LM what it is today, a tool that many of us have fallen for. But in this piece, he's really kind of talking about the revenge of the humanities. So, what do you think is driving this shift?
Well, AI was once dominated almost exclusively by STEM fields because so much of it was just about coding and numbers and the mathy, sciencey, engineering, techie stuff. But there's a whole new set of questions around AI that no one was thinking about except for philosophers until about 2 years ago, is what Johnson said. And we should note that AI's growth has created these new challenges beyond tech. So these questions around ethics, the psychological impacts, linguistic expertise. So all of these kind of changes are all things that humanities people have been thinking about and studying versus the tech people that are doing the numbers and the crunching and the coding.
Right. So as soon as it became like generative AI in the wild, we're all interacting with it. It's got all these human qualities, anthropomorphizing here, but the models have these human qualities. All of a sudden, right, it does feel like it's all about ethics and tone. Like I just did a keynote this morning before we came to record, and I was using AI voice, and it's just so rich, the conversations that people have, but they're not STEM conversations, right? They're conversations about tone, characteristics, voice, ethics, relationships, what's human, on and on and on. The piece actually highlights Amanda Eskel, who is a philosopher. She's at Anthropic, the folks who make Claude, but she's a philosopher, right? So she works on Claude's character training. And if you follow Hard Fork or read about this in the New York Times a little bit with Kevin Roos or other places, one of the things that people have really come to think about Claude is that it has a personality, right?
Right.
And, all these developers and other folks that use Claude a lot, because it's used quite a lot for coding, have really found the personality piece quite stunning. So you have the STEM field that's making the code, but they're having this relationship in a way with the bot. So, Eskel says building Claude's character feels philosophically rich, and explains that her work really has all sorts of deep moral questions like, should AI have ethical boundaries, and what are the human values that it should adopt?
I'm thinking back to a story we did a long time ago. Was it Anthropic that built the very real-looking library within their...
No, it was OpenAI, but
okay.
Yeah, totally.
But it, all kinds of connects,
100%,
right? Like that
yeah.
They want this library within their building that also feels very humanities-like. And the importance of all of this is that AI needs to sound human and it needs to understand context in order for it to be usable by the general public. So these humanities grads are bringing this creative and human-centric approach to AI. And so companies are realizing that understanding people is just as important as writing the code. So just writing code is one skill, but you've really got to understand the users and how to make it usable to people.
Sure. Think of all the time that we spend working on prompting ourselves and with teachers, even the companies themselves, Anthropic, right? They have these things called the system prompt, which is like the high level, or the fact that it's a constitutional AI, that it follows these rules, the way it interacts. Like this is all language in humanities. Johnson, it's interesting too, because as like the field of prompting doesn't wane a little bit, but there was a new study out. I don't think we're covering it right now, but Ethan Mollick and his wife Lilach and a bunch of folks at Wharton did a study about prompting, and is like prompting changing the whole, like, do we need to say please and roles and all that kind of stuff. But Johnson makes an argument that there's a thing emerging as those wane a little bit called the AI wrangler, right? So he says this is a new role evolving from prompt engineering. So this may be the next stage of prompt engineering, and that AI wranglers don't need coding skills, but they have to deeply understand AI models and their capabilities. So if someone wants to generate a 30-second AI animated video, the AI wrangler would know exactly which tools to use.
Okay.
It's like in the vibe coding piece last week that we talked about, English is the code, right? But all the rich problem solving and analysis, I think you were AI wrangling as you built are you still using that app?
Oh my
by the
gosh,
way?
it's gotten better.
Oh, wow.
I'm able to now choose my rhinestone size, but actually I want your help because I want to be able to create a database, and you might be able to help me on that.
Okay, you got it.
It goes beyond, I've hit a wall.
All right, in this case, my AI agent can't talk to your AI agent in GGWave. We just have to talk to each other.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is a huge opportunity for humanities majors. Like AI wranglers have to be fluent in AI capabilities. And that's just a general purpose skill that is actually going to be valuable in every single industry, is something Johnson said. Are we seeing a shift where AI fluency is becoming as essential as traditional tech skills? And I love it as a humanities major.
I love it too. And I have a younger child of my two sons. One's in college right now getting essentially a humanities degree. So this makes me feel a little bit better as I make that next monthly tuition payment.
We were talking about it even in professional learning this week. And as a Spanish and French major, there's two pieces to that. One was like learning the language, and the other was learning like the history and culture. And thank goodness I fell into education, because my other career path was going to be translating books. I would not have that job anymore, right?
Facing retirement at 40-something.
And I mean, being a Spanish major in the year 2000 meant that everything I did was writing papers, and I had to write them in Spanish. And I could not Google the information. I couldn't, there was nothing for me I had to do it myself. There was no option. There wasn't even an option to get it grammar checked. But now that's not even a thing. I could easily write my paper in Spanish with a ChatGPT prompt.
There you go. So I didn't want to leave this hanging as the only piece as we think about the future and jobs. And I love Johnson's whole perspective, but not everybody's going to become a humanities major. So I saw a second piece that we're just going to kind of tuck in here in the Wall Street Journal. It is titled Schools Reviving Shop Class, Offering kind of a Hedge Against the AI Future. And so this is a piece from the Journal again, and it quickly highlights just a number of school districts that are spending tens of millions of dollars to modernize shop class, noting that hands-on careers are gaining a lot of traction as AI automation reshapes blue-collar work with robotics, and then also AI automation is to some degree reshaping white-collar work as well. So I thought this was an interesting take on it. And we've covered some similar pieces. I know we did a piece about how Gen Z, in the workforce, a lot of folks are switching out of white-collar jobs and shifting into blue-collar, but certainly seeing schools, I know my own local school district, they've not been super progressive around vocational or career and technical ed, and they just opened up a new field for electronics and electricians, which I thought was great.
Yeah, that's really cool. The irony is that as AI threatens office jobs, these hands-on skills, which were so undervalued for years, are now the ones that are future-proof. So I was lucky enough to take a hands-on technology class when I was in 7th grade and 8th grade. We made cars out of wood, and we made a mailbox or a box out of wood, and I loved that class.
You made a box out of wood, Liz.
Yeah, it had a top.
Okay.
Like a hinge.
I don't know why. I was just imagining a little square thing.
Yeah, no, it's much more complicated than that. And we had to cut it out and use the saws and all the stuff.
Nice.
And And it was really fun. But that class, I think by the time I even graduated from high school, was no longer in the middle school. And I love this idea that it's coming back. When I was in Finland, in all the schools throughout the years, you take these kinds of shop classes and there's traditions of what you make each year. Like I think every 6th grade student learns to make a brass. I don't know if it's brass. I don't know. It has this name in Finnish, but I don't know what it is. The ladle that you basically pick up water and throw it on your sauna rocks for. But like everybody's house, no one buys one because everybody makes one in 6th grade and you kind of keep it for the rest of your life. And then if you have kids, like then you use theirs. So like there are these traditions and every 3rd grader learns how to knit. It might be not 3rd grade, but like every kid learns some of these traditional skills.
Yeah.
As just part of Finnish education. It's Finnish craft education. And it's both connected to tradition as well as these very hands-on skills that are very important.
I want to go to Finland now.
In 7th grade, you learn how to make a blueberry pie.
A blueberry pie and a ladle for everybody's sauna. It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You notice I said that right.
Sauna.
It's interesting, too, because parents have a perspective on this as well.
Oh, absolutely. I certainly do. Parents in tech want their kids to go into these like performing and technical arts instead of what might have been white collar fields because creative manual jobs are harder to automate. Could the smartest AI-proof move be learning skills that machines just can't replicate? And I'd say at this point, yeah.
There you go. All right, Liz, let's move on. So this is a new study, Stanford University and Emory University, and the title is The Widespread Adoption of Large Language Model Assisted Writing Across Society.
All right. So the study examines large language model adoption in 4 domains: consumer complaints, corporate press releases, job postings, and UN press releases.
Yeah, and the key finding is that, by late 2024, roughly 18% of financial consumer complaints, the text in them appear to be large language model based, with adoption patterns spread broadly across regions and slightly higher in urban areas, so just a bit crankier.
Yeah, so this is a huge data set. So this isn't just a little bit of anecdotal evidence. The data set included 687,241 consumer complaints, about 537,000 corporate press releases, 304 million job postings, and 15,919 United Nations press releases.
That's a lot. I mean, this is
a lot of data.
This must have been a really fun study to work on, right? Because you're working with a lot of volume here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with consumer complaints.
Yeah, so the study notes that consumer complaints offer insight into user-business interactions and show how these technologies may extend beyond AI-powered customer service.
And there were some geographic disparities. So Arkansas, 30% of the complaints were LLM involved. Missouri, 26.9%. They lead the adoption. West Virginia, I don't know what's going on. These are my ancestral people, 2.6%. Are they not unhappy with any of their consumer realities?
Despite West Virginia's findings, areas with lower educational attainment showed somewhat higher LLM adoption rates in consumer complaints. That was around 19.9% compared with highly educated areas, only 17.4%.
Was that a dig against my ancestral homeland of West Virginia?
No.
So
Just an observation.
This piece is really interesting. I think there has been this maybe tacit assumption that AI writing is something that highly educated folks in college are doing, or people in professional white-collar careers, as we were just talking about. But I think AI adoption, again, as a general purpose technology, will slowly show up everywhere. And I talk to lots of folks about AI, and I speak to contractors and plumbers and folks in CTE. And yes, they're not using AI to fix the toilet, but they are using AI to help write up the quote or put a budget together or do a more complex proposal. So I think this is a really interesting finding. I'm not trying to associate education attainment levels with CTE or plumbers or electricians. The point is, whether it's the trades or the performing arts or financial services, it's going to show up in lots of different places, including, my friend, corporate press releases and their use in AI writing. That must have been so much fun to read all the corporate press releases.
No, probably really boring.
God, what did Xerox say next? Is Xerox still a company?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. So corporate press releases reflect strategic organizational uses as firms incorporate these large language models into investor relations, public relations, and broader business communication. So they're writing lots of stuff and they're using the chatbots to help them do it.
Yeah, so Newswire had the highest AI-assisted content, about 25%, with PR Newswire and PR Web following at 15 to 16%.
Yeah, the study kind of warns a little bit about the over-reliance on AI in that it could result in messages that fail to address the concerns or overall release makes it kind of less credible. Although, I don't know. Will it? I mean, won't the chatbot do just as good a job as whoever the corporate communications person was?
I mean, as long as you're reading it and vetting it, and they're saying 25% of it was done by a chatbot, not.
But do you buy that? I mean, it's like the studies that say 30% of kids are using AI. Okay, times 2,
right.
Maybe 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably true as well. They probably are using it more than 25%.
Yeah, but I guess there is a trust thing here, right? If you can spot it, right?
If it's in corporate statements, does that impact how much we trust them? I don't know. I also wonder how many people are reading those press releases by throwing them into ChatGPT in the first place and having them summarized. I mean, are we all going to end up playing this game of you write a really long thing with AI, I take the really long thing and put it into AI and get the summary with AI, and then I don't know how many people read corporate press releases or how many people now just get the summary.
Yeah, I don't read corporate press releases, but you did just summarize my entire reading digest on a regular basis. It's either throw it into ChatGPT I have several custom GPTs for different kinds of summaries I want, or throw it into 11 Labs and let Jerry Garcia read it to me. Yeah. Oh, there's all these new voices of dead people in 11 Labs, by the way. You got to go check
really?
them out.
All right.
Really good stuff. All right, so what's shorter, though, than a corporate press release is a job posting.
Yeah, and these job postings reveal how recruiters and human resource departments harness LLMs, shedding light on broader labor market trends.
This kind of cuts in different ways based on different industries. So, engineering and sales positions ranking around 10% of modified content, and younger and smaller firms lead the way, which is not surprising. They got leaner HR teams, are more fluent with the technology, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Companies founded after 2015 so these are the younger companies, show 10 to 15% large language model adoption, while pre-1980s firms are below 5%. Still just seems so low.
Yeah, it does. And, we'll see in the study, they talk about how it maybe trails off. And I'm curious, is it really trailing off, or the detectors? We don't really know what tool they used in order to make these characterizations of the percentage of writing.
Well, it's interesting because employers that use LLMs to write their job applications are getting more applications, but not necessarily making a hire.
Oh, so the final result may not really be positively impacted.
No, not really.
Okay.
But who knows?
All right. So then finally, we have press releases.
UN press releases showcase the growing institutional adoption of AI for regulatory, policy, and public outreach efforts.
Yeah, and here again, there's these regional differences. So Latin American and Caribbean UN teams had slightly higher adoption rates, around 20%.
So even the world's most prominent international bodies are using LLMs in their communications. So maybe this underscores the inevitability of an AI-driven writing world, but it also raises questions about authenticity and accountability. And I think in the professional learning I've done recently, that's kind of people's biggest question is can it be reliable, or what if it hallucinates? But again, you have to keep human in the loop too. So that solves that problem, as long as you're reading your press release before you release it.
Well said, Dr. Radde.
Thanks.
All right, Liz, listen, before we go to Beneath the Surface, we got a new thing here.
Yeah, you call it AI in the wild.
AI in the wild. So let me explain.
Okay.
So, Liz, I got bored listening to myself whine about AI tutors. I have this thing that if you listen to ChatEDU, we sometimes question the efficacy, not the efficacy of AI tutors, right? But there's this mismatch. The World Economic Forum and other reports say that what skills students and learners will need by 2030 are all the kinds of skills you do in project-based learning. So problem solving, critical thinking, analysis, human-to-human collaboration. But then all the studies we cover are about an AI tutor where a student is working independently. So I wanted to put our curatorial money where our mouth is.
I love it.
Yeah, right? So we're going to do an occasional feature. So it's not that much curatorial money where our mouth is. And then we're going to do an occasional feature. But we're going to do an occasional feature called AI in the Wild, where we're going to shine a bright light on innovative strategies where folks are either one, kind of leveraging the full potential of the technology, things like voice, vision, video, and VR, right, Liz? Or two, the learners are developing the skills that we're just talking about as highlighted in the World Economic Forum. And so we're going to kick off this week with a piece that was in Nature. It's called ChatGPT for Students. Learners find creative uses for chatbots. There's a whole bunch of cases in here, including a little bit of AI tutoring, but the one that really caught my attention, here we have students that are kind of pushing generative AI beyond simple writing assistance or tutoring, and they're using it for dynamic learning applications. And so the standout here was this young woman, I don't know how young, she was Adriana Ivich. She's a PhD student who trained ChatGPT like a custom bot to simulate her dissertation committee based on their publications and their bios.
I think that is such a cool idea.
Right?
So she, I'm assuming, just dumped in everything that they've written, their bios from the university, which those bios are usually pretty extensive, and then probably shared her dissertation and asked the model to rehearse for her exams by asking her questions. She would give responses and they would respond back and have a conversation. But it was really to mimic these real professors. And she said it led to a highly accurate preview of her actual defense, which, is pretty cool.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, this gets to both of those two characteristics for AI in the wild. She's using the chatbot in a really sophisticated way that's doing more than just like, hey, help me develop 5 study test questions, right? It's really like giving profiles and use cases and scenarios, very rich application. And think of the skills that she's using just to craft those prompts, the creativity to design the solution. I mean, if someone was hiring her as a humanities graduate into Anthropic, I'd be like, hire that young woman because she's just really creative application. So kudos to you, our first AI in the wild.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Cameron Audia, executive producer of ChatEDU. Our AI and education micro-credential is full, thanks to many in the ChatEDU audience. If you'd like to join the waitlist for the next cohort, visit skills21.org/AI/micro. For school and district leaders looking to bring AI training to their entire learning community, ChatEDU and EdAdvanced offers a self-hosted, flexible course that you can run on your own terms. This program builds a strong AI foundation for educators and constituents, covering key concepts, advanced prompting, AI-driven assessments, multimedia creation, and AI-ready classrooms. Interested? Email chatedu@edadvance.org.
All right, Matt, now it's time to go beneath the surface as we explore a new feature from Turnitin.
Turnitin, you say?
Turnitin.
Right. We were in a school yesterday together doing some professional learning where Turnitin was the primary. Very often we're not in a school district that's using Turnitin for checking AI content or academic integrity concerns because it's expensive. This was a well-resourced school district and it was the tool that they used. And pretty consistent with anything else that we ask, Brisk, GPT-0. Teachers are really honest about this. When you say, like, how's it working? They'll say, it's so-so. Like, I've never had a group of teachers in the last 6 months and be like, oh yeah, rock solid, rely on it all the time. Nonetheless, Liz, I was wondering if you could read us some of the kind of bolded headlines from the Turnitin homepage for folks who aren't familiar with the tool or the solution.
All right. So right on the top, it says, bringing transparency to the writing process. And then in big, bold letters, it says, empower students to do their best original work. In a big original work is highlighted. Advance learning with an AI writing detection solution built for educators. Uphold academic integrity. Assessments with transparency into AI usage.
So how do you summarize the homepage? Like, what do you think is the value proposition that Turnitin is providing to schools?
Yeah, that they're going to tell you if a kid was cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So fascinatingly, now there's a new story from Axios reported by Ina Fried, and it is Turnitin's new canvas and the evolution of AI in education. So this is basically the plagiarism detecting service is pivoting to help teachers and educators navigate AI in the classroom.
Interesting. So since ChatGPT's launch, schools have struggled with whether they should let students and how they should let students use AI tools. And Turnitin was around forever, and it detected plagiarism. But I think once things were being generated by ChatGPT, it was no longer able to detect plagiarism because it wasn't taken directly from something else.
Right. So the new goal for this tool, says the Turnitin product chief, is to really shift us forward in a world where we don't have to be in this place of losing that trust between the teacher and the student. How that shift happens, we will see.
Some schools banned AI early on, and others tried to integrate it within its limits. And now Turnitin is offering an alternative approach.
Yeah, so tell us about this. This is a Clarity. So how does Clarity work?
So Turnitin Clarity is an online canvas where students can work on assignments while using approved AI tools, with teachers able to see where and how the AI was used.
Right. So Cecchitelli, the product director, says it's a clean environment for them to start and not have all these tools bombarding them.
So unlike some AI detection tools, Clarity isn't tied to a specific AI model.
Yeah, and so I think we're missing some details here, and we'll see how it turns out for Turnitin Clarity. Teachers are already overwhelmed by the number of chatbots. So, I think the idea is that they're going to create an environment where kids will have some kind of either curated chatbot or, I would imagine, their own just like wrapper. So you're in this writing environment and you're using a chatbot for whatever part of the writing process Clarity directs you to, or the teacher directs you to via Clarity. We're really not sure. We know enough to call this thing Turnitin's Big 180, because they are going from AI content detection to AI assisted writing or supported in the writing process.
So teachers recognize AI's potential to enhance learning, but they're also scrambling to adapt to a new world where chatbots can produce essays in seconds.
Right. And we cover this quite a lot on the podcast, and we were doing it yesterday. I was in a district where they're working on today this whole idea of more durable assessment. So how do we take an essay that's done outside of class, and do they do an oral presentation or some other representation of what they know and are able to do? And I just want to say, every time I enter the durable assessment conversation with a little bit of pause, and we have this custom bot that I believe we've talked about where you can put in your assignment and it gives you feedback on how vulnerable it is to a chatbot and then offers suggestions on the durability. Teachers really enjoy the suggestions. And we've gotten better about rank them 1 through 5 so you can judge whether or not it's going to take a ton of my time or not so much of my time to make that shift of the assessment. But I've really enjoyed the openness at which teachers say, here's a piece of my instruction, Mr. Chatbot or Mrs. Chatbot, ye old chatbot, whatever, and give me some feedback on how I can mix up the assessment. All right, but let's get back to this platform.
Yeah, so I think just to summarize how it works, it seems to work. It hasn't been released yet. It's supposed to release in 2025 Q3, so a few months from now. But basically, the students would go to Turnitin, and there's a canvas there, like an open doc where they can write in there, and the chatbot is embedded into that platform, and the teacher can customize that chatbot if they want. And then there's features like the teacher can watch a playback of the students writing the assignment, or can tell you if a huge chunk was cut or pasted, and you can see what the conversation is with the chatbot. So as long as they stay within the Turnitin ethos,
yeah,
you can verify that their work is original or be more certain.
Yeah, and it seems like a number of these tools, they're able to also turn a thing on where the students could get automated AI-generated feedback. I'd love them to actually take it a step further. Can you imagine the Leon Furs AI assessment scale built inside an environment like this? He might find that to be an abhorrent idea. But if you had a writing environment that was controlled and you said, okay, great, this is a level 2 activity, meaning that the student could use AI for research, and then I don't know, they say they're going to curate the tools, so then maybe Perplexity's deep research is in there. Or it's a level 3 assignment where they can use AI for outlining but not for writing. Or there's already, I think in level 3, if I've got Furs's assessment scale right here, there's the idea of feedback. So that's already a function in there. So I don't know. You're already opening up the door and saying this is a productive environment for AI collaboration. So maybe it makes sense to be more progressive about it as students can develop those skills. I don't know. I mean, kudos for Turnitin. They probably just figured like we cannot solely be in the AI assessment checking business, and students need and teachers need a more robust platform and environment. We'll see. It's an expensive tool. I mean, in general, I don't know the districts that I travel in. Maybe they're not always well resourced or have enough resources. I mean, what school does, but Turnitin tends to be a little bit more of an expensive tool, and so folks are brisking it or using GPT-0 or revision history or draft back or some of those other free or free-ish freemium tools.
I think one of the important, interesting observations from the article is also that despite the rise of chatbots, students are still plagiarizing from existing work at the same rate. So like the rate hasn't changed even with AI being out there. So like kids are still going back to their regular way of
Do you think they're still paying other kids to like write essays for them? I wonder if that business is taking a hit.
I mean, I'm sure.
And then that kid's going to
using the AI.
All right. Good stuff, Liz. Thanks for walking us through this together. And we will see when Turnitin's new product comes out in the third quarter of 2025, we will review it and check it out together because it is a kind of fascinating little bit of news.
All right, Matt, now it's time to turn our attention to a Bright Bite, our weekly rundown of how AI is making positive contributions on things that really matter.
Yay, good news.
Yay. All right, so the title is OpenAI will invest $50 million in a new university research consortium. And this is from Forbes by Michael T. Neitzel. OpenAI is launching Next Gen AI, a $50 million research consortium with 15 partner institutions. These include Harvard, MIT, Oxford, Texas A&M, some little small universities. Yeah. So the initiative aims to accelerate AI research and educate future AI leaders. So some of the projects include AI-driven healthcare diagnostics, AI literacy programs, and digitizing historical texts.
Oh, neat. Yeah, so this is a move. There are some questions I've read about these investments because, OpenAI is also building a robust line of business, shall we say, in the university community, a la the Cal State story that we've covered and ASU and some other places. But the move this is a bright bite, Matt.
Yeah.
Stay positive.
Positive.
Glass half full. Yeah, so the move highlights a growing private sector influence in AI research, but in a good way, right? Because especially it doesn't take a lot to open up the news and see that federal AI funding and federal science funding in general has some uncertainty, which would be a nice way of saying it. So seeing the private sector get involved and use the power of AI to help us move towards some of these positive contributions in science and culture and the environment for AI is the kind of bright bite we're looking for.
That's right. Just keep it positive, Matt.
Let's keep it positive, Liz.
All right.
Thanks for being my positivity coach.
All right. Well, I think that was a great episode.
Me too. It's always fun. And Liz, I believe it is now time to
roll the credits.
Oh, wait. But before we do.
Yes.
Can we just beg for some likes, follows, reviews?
Please, guys.
It's getting a little static out there.
Yeah. Just like if you love us, just a little review, a little like on any of the platforms you're on. We'd love it.
Yeah. Ego stroke, please. We're begging. All right. Thanks, Liz.
All right. Now roll the credits. As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at chatedU@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. ChatEDU is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the executive director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoyed the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, and our micro-credential co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you again for listening to ChatEDU.